Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Musonda Lamba Milapo, and this is AMR Unplugged. This morning, I am joined by Natasha Kaptula. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're most welcome. We are so excited to have you, excited for the conversation that we're about to have. And I have an icebreaker actually, and I'll come back to do your full introduction. So let me start by giving you this icebreaker, which is that in many homes, there's always that one auntie who is seemingly the expert at medicine, even though they have zero medical experience, zero medical background, but somehow they just know the medication to give, or they think they know the medication to give for whatever illness is in the house. Do you have such an auntie, or are you that auntie?
I'm thinking I do have such an auntie, definitely, but I don't think I'm that auntie. Yeah, and I think it's more than one.
That's
Yeah,
true.
thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's many concepts out there like Dr. Mom. Yeah, they are also, the mothers are also culprits of giving children or sick people in their
Yeah,
households.
they're too experienced. They feel like they're the
But the question
doctors.
is, where is this experience from?
Mm.
Yeah, so just an interlude to what we'll be discussing this morning. We're discussing the role of women in antimicrobial resistance. We are putting on a gender lens to antimicrobial resistance. And the month of March, they say, is the month of the woman, isn't it? I
We are
think,
celebrating the
yes,
women.
we are
Yes.
celebrating women. So just with that in mind, you are a gender expert, should I say? You
Yes.
can tell us a little bit about that.
So my name is Natasha Msonda Kaptula, and I'm a gender expert, like Msonda has said. I have a degree in gender studies that I pursued at the University of Zambia. So yeah, I do a lot of work around just basically understanding the interlink between gender and health. Yeah. So
That's a really good one and very relevant field of study. So kudos to you. So just getting the conversation started, we've already talked about how women, they the ones who oftentimes, let's put it like that, oftentimes are the ones who are rushing to prescribe, air quotes, prescribe medication to sick family members and children. And this is common especially in many of our African households. We have auntie, doctor, mom, doctor, mom, and so on and so forth. But from your perspective, what do you think makes women such central figures in managing health in our homes and in the communities?
yes. So, in the African society, we have this social expectation that has been placed on women, which is what we call now the gender role, that women are the caregivers in the home. They're the ones that take care of the sick, they take care of the children, they take care of the husband, the in-laws, and even the families that they are coming from. Now, as a human being, you're obviously going to get sick at one point in time. And who's taking care of you? It's the woman, right? So because she's taking care of you, she has a key role to play in the health in the home. So once you get sick, she's obviously going to be she's the first point of contact, even before you go to the hospital. So you run to mommy and you say, Mommy, today I have a running stomach. And then she remembers like, oh, I think the last time your brother had a running stomach, he was given Flagyl or metronidazole, at the hospital, and he felt better. So I'll probably get the remaining medicine that I
Yes.
kept and give to you. But this is because of the societal expectation or the societal role that has been placed on women to play the caregiving role in the home, and that's why they play such a huge role, a key role when it comes to health in the home and also the community at large.
Yeah, I like that you've already set the tone that it's mainly a societal impression. Yeah. And so with this caregiving role that they have, I can imagine that it also influences decision making when it comes to health decisions, like when antibiotics are used or if they are not used. But how does this what's the linkage? Yeah, what causes this sort of influence for women to have this,
Yeah, it all, like I am we are now getting or starting to talk about the decision making power in the household.
yes.
at the end of the day, the mom is the one that takes care of people in the home, right?
Mm,
Yeah, and she's the one that's going to administer the medication when someone is sick. The funny thing in our African society is that I have to make the decision about when you're going to take the medicine and what medicine you need. But I may not have the financial backbone or the financial capacity. I don't have that ultimate decision making power because, again, in our society, the husband is the breadwinner or the provider. And we
right.
have been taught growing up as girl children that you need to respect your husband. And a form of respecting your husband or a man is allowing him to make those decisions, ultimately giving the decision making power in the home to who? To the man. Or the husband in the home. So now you find that a child is sick in the home, but because from a young age you've been taught to respect your husband, to respect a man, you have to wait for the man or call the man because now we have mobile phones.
Yeah.
You have to communicate with the husband and say, "Hello, dear. This child is
Hello,
not
dear.
well is not well today." And I mean, homes, they're different. They're different way people relate, husbands and wives. But in the African society, you need to get permission from your husband to do certain things. Even when it comes to spending money, it may be your money together, but you still have to get permission from your husband to spend that money. So you are the one taking care of the child in the home, but you still have to make a phone call before spending the money and rushing to the hospital to say, "Hey, the baby is sick and I think it's out of control. I need to go to the hospital and I need this money to be released from the account. So I need you to give me this money." So you have the role to take care of kids in the home, but you don't have the ultimate power to make the decision of when to take out money to take the child to the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good example that you've given right there. And I'm just thinking, it's still remembering. When we went into Matero, I think maybe 2 years ago, we had asked a similar question on health decision making to the women and the men in that particular focus group. And exactly what you're saying is what came out, that we basically asked, if your child is sick in the house, who makes the decision on
Mm,
whether to take this child to the
to the
hospital
hospital.
or not?
Yes.
And then there was this battle between the men and the women. The men were saying, "Oh, because I am the man, I have to be the one to make the
Yeah.
decision." But realistically speaking, I think what was stronger was that the women are the ones who then just pick up the child because the child is not, because they are the first to notice that the child is not feeling well,
Exactly.
etc., etc. So
Exactly.
we are definitely giving a true reflection of what's happening on the ground, especially in our African context.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just moving on. With the same, we often see women self prescribing antibiotics and recommending to children, their partners, relatives, and even the community. Yeah. But why does this happen so frequently? What do you think? And is it about access? Is it about the cost of the medication? Or is it about trust? Yeah. What do you think could be leading to that?
You honestly put it very well. And it's about all the three, four things that you've mentioned: access, trust, experience, and also the cost. Again, we are speaking from an African perspective. We have hospitals in Africa. We have hospitals even in Zambia, whatever African country you're from, basically. But when you go to the hospital, is the doctor going to take a sample to, yeah, take it to the lab to give you a diagnosis? Or do you just go to the hospital, see the doctor, tell him your symptoms, and then he tells you, "Okay, you have diarrhea, this and that, fine. This is the antibiotic that you need." Now, because you had gone to the hospital the last time and you were given this particular antibiotic, you didn't need to give the doctor a sample. You basically now start telling yourself that this is the exact same thing as me walking into a pharmacy or walking to my next door neighbor and basically asking them, "Hey, I feel this and this and this and this. And I remember that the last time you felt the same thing and you took some medication. Can I please have the medicine that you, or the antibiotics that you took, if you have any left over?" So it is a thing of access, but also trust in the community. Women are very trusted in the community. In our homes, who do we run to? Not just when we're sick, but when we have a problem, it's women, right? So when you are not well, the first person that you're most likely going to go to is your mom. Even when your husband is sick, you are the one as a mom, as a wife, who's constantly telling him, go to the hospital. And he may not want to go to the hospital. So what do you end up doing? Okay, the last time I had these symptoms, take this medicine, you're going to feel better. And that's where all this sharing comes in. But
Yeah.
also, let's not run away from the cost. We live in a region where, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, we're in the class of low and middle income countries. So poverty is very high where we're from. And getting good health care is not cheap. It comes at a cost. And also, hospitals, there's long queues. Everybody will, agree with me.
I've
So
heard that one
you
before.
go to the hospital and you spend the whole day, Sonda. I've left work, and I'm depending on the type of job I have, I may have lost out on some money that I would have made.
Yeah.
Other women are marketeers, our house helps, but also in the different office spaces that we work in, there are different job titles that we have, and you may lose out if you spend the entire day at the hospital. So it's everything compound, as just like you said. Yeah.
And you were just taking you back a little bit on how, based off the scenario that they've gone to the hospital, they didn't get maybe a test done. And so then they associate that when someone else gets sick, if they get sick or someone else gets sick, they can also just use the same drugs that they were given at the hospital. And you remember we started off by asking, where do they get this experience? So I guess that's
Yes,
where the experience then
that's true.
comes. But just to move along, how do gender roles, economic realities, you've touched a little bit on that in your in the last answer that you gave, and access to healthcare in African settings help shape women's relationship with antibiotics?
Wow, this is a huge one, because it's something that we don't pay attention to so much, but it plays a huge role. When we talk about gender roles, it starts from the moment a girl child is born, the moment a boy child is born. From the time that you are born, it's placed on you by society that this girl is going to take care of the home. Her main role in life is to be a caregiver, to nurture the family. So you're most likely not going to be pushed towards getting into a career that's financially beneficial for you, because at the end of the day, the world sees that what the world expects from you is that you're supposed to get married, and your husband is the one that's going to take care of you, without really understanding what consequence it has on you as a woman. So because of the gender roles, because of the gender norms that have been placed on women, on girl children in society, it leaves a gap once they get older, because you were never really pushed to, or your end goal in life is to find a way to make money, because your end goal is to basically get married, have children, and take care of the children. The job that you're most likely going to get is not going to pay as well as your husband, okay, in our African context. And I was actually reading a paper, a statistics actually from the World Bank and the UN Women, stating that 1 in every 10 women is living under the poverty line. And when we calculate that 1 in every 10 women until the year 2030, it's giving us about 342 women that will live under the poverty line. Now, that's a huge world population. Yeah. So already that tells us that we have a lot of women, we have a lot of women that live under the poverty line. And if you live under the poverty line, you will not be able to access
Access.
good health care
That's true.
services.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit of, I hope, yeah, that makes
Yeah, no, I
sense.
think you've painted a really good picture, and with the statistics as well, it gives a really bleak reality of like what's actually on the ground. So thank you so much for doing your research. We really appreciate that. Yeah, so when antibiotics are not used properly, and by that I mean like stopping early, sharing medications, and using them for just in case situations, because there's that just in
Just
case.
in case.
Yeah, where let's say if a family member was sick and they didn't finish the drugs that they were given, they pack them away
Mm,
for another another just in case moment in case
yeah.
someone else gets sick.
Mm.
But yeah, what do you think would be the risks, What risk does this create for women and their families if they engage in such practices?
Yeah. Before getting into the space
Mm.
and gender and health and really, really starting to understand the risks of antimicrobial resistance, I remember having a conversation with someone and I was saying, I'm traveling and I don't want to get diarrhea because it's happened before. So I'm going to take Flagyl in advance, which is an antibiotic, so that I don't get a running stomach. And they were so shocked. It's like, is that really what you do? Why are you misusing medicine? And I didn't understand. I'm just like,
Yeah.
what do you mean I'm misusing medicine? So later on during that conversation, I began to understand that some of the risks of misusing medicine, sharing medicine, using medicine, antibiotics to be exact, that have not been prescribed to you could then mean that in future when you actually need the medicine, when you need that antibiotic, it will not work because you've exposed the medicine when it need not to be exposed. So the risk really is just that at the time that I may need the medicine or somebody else needs it, they will not be able, it will not heal them. They will take it, but it won't work. And this could lead to prolonged hospital stays and increased hospital costs. Now, we're already saying we're in a region that is labeled or classified as a low middle income country, right? You don't have proper access to proper good health services. It's going to cost you so much money, which you will not be able to afford. Yeah, we don't have the best insurance in the world. So it's definitely going to be a strain on you, a strain on your pocket, and even just on your mental health. Yeah. So those are some of the risks.
Yeah, that was a antibiotic slash antimicrobial resistance 101
Mhm.
class, master class. Yeah, great answer. Just moving on to something that I feel passionate about now that I've become a mother and as a woman, is the issue of pregnancy, childbirth, post childbirth, just motherhood in general. And I know it's close to your heart as a mother too. So, in pregnancy and childbirth, they are some of the most vulnerable times for women, right? We are prone to contacting or
Yeah,
getting infections, such as UTIs and
very true.
also malaria. We are often put on that, what's it called, the anti-malarial.
Yeah, the
I
anti-malaria drug.
really hated that part, actually. It makes you feel
It
really
makes you
sick.
sick.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes you feel really sick. And but they give that to us as a preventive measure so that we don't get malaria, because then malaria in pregnancy is fatal for both the child, could be fatal for the mother and the child. And so antimalarials being under what we call antimicrobials. Yeah. So when we talk about antimicrobials, we're talking about, the what antibiotics,
Yes. Malarial.
yes, or
Antiparasitic.
yes,
Yes.
antifungals,
Yes.
and what's the other one? Antivirus.
Yes.
Yes. So we because we are at risk of these things, it makes labor, pregnancy itself, and even delivery very risky, right? Yeah, and this goes without saying that these precious medicines, they are really crucial for women. But then, what do you think, in your opinion, would happen? If these medicines that we use to treat these things like UTIs, malaria, if they no longer work, and how in what I'm trying to get at to is basically, how does antimicrobial resistance threaten motherhood?
Mm.
There we have it.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a deep, deep question. And it's such a huge risk, really. We look at motherhood, we look at pregnancy. The journey itself is a big thing. So basically, like you've said, malaria is fatal in women. Women during pregnancy, during delivery, are prone to many, many infections such as UTIs. Now, the problem is when we have been misusing this medicine, right? It could, the result could be that at the time that a mother or a pregnant woman needs medicine for a UTI infection, she's given that medicine, but because it's been misused in the past, it stopped working. The effect has yeah, it no longer has an effect on that, on the disease or the infection that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what this would mean is that it puts mothers and children, babies, at risk, at high risk, and it could increase the death rates for women, pregnant women, as well as children. Yeah, newborn babies. Yeah, and women are also at risk not only during pregnancy, like you've said, but also after pregnancy, because some women may not deliver naturally; they have C-sections, and after a C-section, you may need to be put on antibiotics. Now, what happens if that antibiotic is not working? You don't heal
Really
well.
scary.
Yeah, so yeah, those are some of the huge risks. Yeah, so basically it would just really increase the rate at which pregnant women and their newborns could die. So just increasing the mortality rate. Yeah.
And also setting back all the many years of medical advancements. There's so much has been done to protect the woman and the child during childbirth and pregnancy.
Very true.
And so I think antimicrobial resistance takes us decades back. And I said scary when you were talking about the cesarean section, because I am a C-section mom, and I remember for both my children after birth, the fear of having an infection,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just feeling like I need to make sure that I don't get an infection. But
yeah.
unfortunately, it's a reality for a lot of women that
It is.
after C-section, their wound becomes septic, and
Mm,
then now they need to be on sometimes multiple antibiotics just to ensure that that infection clears off.
clears off.
So yeah, it's a very relevant discussion that we're
Yeah.
having today. Um, just to close us off, really, women, as we have seen, we are not just um, yes, we are affected by antimicrobial resistance, but at the same time, we are also sort of drivers of antimicrobial resistance, as we have already established. But also, we had underscored this in the beginning, that women are very influential. Yes, we are very influential at family level, at community level, and I'd like to believe even just in the general society, women have a lot of influence and can be used as powerful agents for change. Imagine if a lot of women were able to listen to this podcast and be empowered with this information, and the change that they would then enact in their homes would trickle down to their communities, to the whole of society, and make it all the way at facility level, and we would have a changed world. I believe that
I believe that
women
too.
power. But yeah, but how can women be empowered to protect these antibiotics and safeguard the health of their families and communities? How can we actualize this
Mm,
beyond just saying that we can empower women, or women
yeah,
should be
yeah,
empowered?
yeah. I like that. It's like sort of asking what role can women play,
Right.
yeah, in mitigating the risk of the antibiotic resistance or antimicrobial resistance, like we've said. So one thing is really just educating the women, raising awareness and really helping them understand the role that they play, the significant role that they play in the household. Now, the misuse of women in the home is not done because women are just careless. It's done out of love. It's done because they want to protect the home, because they want to safeguard the home, because that's something that has been planted in them from the time that they were children. So, one huge strategy for me is raising awareness in the community about the role that women play, but also not leaving their counterparts behind, because at the end of the day, it's a tag team kind of kind
100%.
kind of show.
Yes.
So really just helping them understand the role that they play as mothers. And yes, you are giving your child this antibiotic out of love, but it has a consequence at the end, because antimicrobial resistance, it's not a disease. It's not something that you can see. It doesn't even have symptoms. It's very slow. It's a very slow process. So really raising awareness. Many people may not know what you and I are talking about today. And I hope that after watching this podcast, they have one or two things to take away from, even if it's just, hey, mommy, don't give me that medicine when I'm sick. Mommy, take me to the hospital when I'm sick. So everybody that's going to get in contact with this podcast should go back and tell their mom, go back and tell their auntie that when someone is sick in the home, don't rush. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have many challenges in our settings that can hinder mothers from seeking proper health care. But it's an unfortunate reality, and it's something that's being worked towards. We're working towards the change. It's going to take some time, but what you and me today, what we're doing today is actually something that can help, which is raising awareness. So yeah, that's one of the strategies that I'll just say, go forth and definitely build awareness on antimicrobial resistance, and really explicitly showing women that this is the role that you play in being the change maker that we need to mitigate antimicrobial resistance. Yeah.
Wow, nicely put. Raising awareness as a tool to empower women in our efforts
Yes. Woo.
against antimicrobial
Yeah.
resistance. This was my special guest.
Mm,
This time I can really say special guest because it was a special conversation with
it
a
really
special guest.
was.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the insights that you have given us. Thank you for just driving the discussion on the role that women can play and in addressing antimicrobial resistance, but also highlighting the role that women play in in driving antimicrobial resistance. There we have it. Thank you so much for watching, staying up to the end. This has been AMR Unplugged, and I'm your host, Musanda Lamba Milapo. Please be sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. That's React Africa on Instagram, Facebook, and X, and RunTube on YouTube. Thank you.